Welcome back to Call Me By Your Game, the podcast where I, your host Connor McCabe, bring on a guest to hear from them about a meaningful video game from a particular moment in their life. This is a podcast about what makes video games special to different people, and we usually talk about the moment that that game made its impact. Today, you're listening to Co-op episode 66, a bonus version of the show where I talk to a panel of people about one video game at a time, and we do our best to talk about our thoughts and feelings, our experiences with it. It's more of an overview episode compared to the cozy little one-on-one interviews that I normally do with my guests. And today, on Co-op episode 66, we are going to be discussing the indie story forward game, as I'll call it, Night in the Woods. This is the cap off to 2025's indie co-op series, which I got behind on, and so now December's episode is coming out in January. And isn't that fun? And yeah, this is a genre that I wanted to discuss, and this is a game that was that had been in the forefront of my mind that I heard about many times, including from one of our guests today. And so I figured, why not discuss it to just hit a variety of genres. So before I introduce my guest today, a couple of housekeeping bits is that if you are listening to the show because you're an Engineered Toad patron, thank you so much for your support. Let us know what you think of the episode in the game on our Discord if you like. And then if you're watching this on YouTube a week later or on the free feed a little farther in advance, thank you as well. If you like the podcast, share the show with a friend, whether they love video games in general or Night in the Woods specifically. You can also follow the podcast all over social media on Blue Sky and Instagram. And that's pretty much it. I won't preview what's coming up next month because that could change depending on availability. But let's introduce our guest. Who's going to be joining me to talk about Night in the Woods? Oh, who are these three people from my hometown that I know and are a little different than I remember them? First, I'll bring in Relentless Town Poet Haley MacLean. Haley, welcome back.
Hello. If we're doing the bit that you're May and we're your friends, I dibs Greg as the friend.
Great. We'll take
Thank
that.
you.
Greg, what a charmer. We have two more guests today. First up, teen horror fanatic Roxy Polk.
Oh, yeah, I get to be Angus.
And then
Nice.
He's
uh,
amazing.
And then lastly, and it's gonna become clear in just a second that I wasn't making us the three friends, but that would have made way more sense because that's perfect because there's a group of four. I was picking random NPCs in town.
Wait,
That
am I misremembering that it's not Angus?
No, that's
Angus.
Angus.
Oh,
You're
okay.
right.
Well, there's another character. Anyway, it doesn't matter. My bit is really silly. It's not
No,
important.
it's fun.
But well, this might make it clear that it wasn't one of the three friends. Lastly,
Okay.
the hip and understanding pastor, Adrian Snow.
Oh, I'd rather be B. I really identify with her, but the pastor is really cool too. Dreams about pizza a lot. Hi guys, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey. I'm so glad to have these three wonderful guests back before we get into a little bit more about the game's history and context and our personal experiences. I want to turn to everyone to give them a chance to share about themselves if they want and see if they have any plugs. Haley, first up, it's been a couple years since I had you on the co-op series where we discussed Alan Wake 2, a game that immediately became one of my all-time personal favorites. But what do you want to share with the listener about yourself and what have you been up to?
Hi. I can't believe that's been 2 years ago. That makes me feel gross. My name is Haley. I'm an indie video games lawyer based out of Canada, but I do cross-border stuff, so US and Canada. Been doing that for almost 5 years, so that's fun. And I also work for MinMax in my part-time on a contractor basis, which is a video game Patreon outlet in Minnesota. Yeah, I played the first time I played Night in the Woods, I realized before we started was in 2016, so I can't believe it's been 10 years. And I've probably replayed it. I replayed it every fall for at least 6 years
Wow.
straight.
Oh, wow.
And I always bought the same candle and burned it. So now if I smell that candle,
Oh,
it's Night in the Woods smell, which is
Aw.
like the most fun thing I've ever tricked my brain into doing.
I love
It's a
that.
Bath and Body
That's
Works candle, so every
delightful.
time I smell it at someone's house, it's weird. My brain is like, "You're playing Night in the
Yes.
Woods." I'm like, "No, I'm having cheese and crackers and wine."
Yeah.
What
So
scent is it? I gotta know.
It's called Leaves
Leaves.
okay.
from
Okay,
Bath and Body
perfect.
Works. It's like a pretty common scent, and you know how they put out fall stuff like 5 months early, so there's always like, access to it no matter what, all throughout the whole year. Um, yeah, Night of the Woods is one of my favorite games. I would say if it's not my favorite game, it's my favorite indie game. Probably
Mm.
would be the easiest classification. And yeah, we'll get into it, I suppose, on why
Yeah,
that is.
I'm really excited to hear more from you, having already gotten to hear from you about this game.
Yeah.
There's certain games when I think of them, I think of a certain person. You're the person I think of when it comes to Night in the Woods because you brought this game on the regular version of the show to discuss its place in your life and what it means to you. So
Hmm.
I am so glad that you could join for this one as well. It was part of the reason why I wanted to do this group episode because I know that it means a lot and to a lot of other people as well. So glad you're here, Roxy. What are you up to? What should the people know? Where can they find you?
I am on Twitch mostly these days, also Blue Sky as a Red Mage Roxy. And actually, my experience with this game is streaming it, co-playing with a friend, like a couple years after release.
Hmm.
So it wasn't release year, but gosh, it was a while ago. I barely knew what I was doing with Twitch stuff at the time. So it's kind of cool to think about how much I've learned and grown since I initially played the game. But being able to revisit it now and think about it now, I know we'll get into it more later, but just like stuff in this game is relevant no matter where you are, kind of, and
Mm.
especially now with stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I'm really glad I got the opportunity to talk about it with you guys today. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so glad you're here. You know, you and I get to do a lot of podcasts over, your regular contributor at Super NPC Radio. We're currently in the Fire Emblem Awakening Games Club together, which has just been so much fun. We've been playing
So excited.
that game and discussing it. I'm just already having a blast. So Roxy, good to always podcast with you, but I'm so glad you could be here today. I texted you kind of out of the blue and was like, "Hey, have you ever played Night in the Woods?" And you're like, "I have." And so it just had to have you on this one too. Um,
Yay. Well, thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it.
of course. And then Adrian, my friend, we just had you back
Yeah.
for your second solo episode where we talked about The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare on the Super Nintendo.
Oh,
Yes.
So,
wow.
and it was
Yes.
actually leading up to doing that episode that I found out you had an
In Night
affinity
in the
for this
Woods.
because it was one of the ones you were considering bringing on for a solo
Hmm.
episode.
Yeah. I played this, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, and I remember just being really moved by it. It was like one of the first indie games I played on the Xbox because I had just got an Xbox, I think, within the past year at that time. And I was like, it really affected me at the time. I guess I was pretty depressed at the time. So I identified a lot with the character. And so it's interesting to come back like
Hmm.
8 years later and I played it again a little bit because I like to like just kind of refresh my brain and be like, oh wow, I'm so removed from this now, like as a person, but it's like really I can still like empathize with it. It's just
Yeah.
not as like in the trenches for me now, which is great to see for
Yes.
myself.
A little
Um,
perspective.
yeah, yeah. But I loved it. I loved the game. I loved the gameplay, I loved the story, I loved the music. It was just a really well done independent game for me. So yeah.
Yeah. And outside of the game and me
Mhm.
having you on recently for another
Right.
Call
I
Me
do
by Your
other
Game.
stuff in my life.
No, 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 you're okay. But yeah, what do you want people to know? Should we be looking out
Um,
for anything?
yeah, I'm on Mod Night at UCB. We have our next show February 11th or 12th, the Wednesday, 11th, and at 8:30 if you're in here in LA. I do a lot of commercials. I have a Jersey Mike's running. I have another one that I can't talk about yet that's coming. Aflac is still running around talking to ducks on Aflac. Uh, and then, yeah, I think that's kind of it. Other stuff will be coming, but
I
I
love
got to
it.
work on it first.
Yeah,
So
well,
yeah.
like last time, I can put at least a link to do you want a link to your Instagram in the show notes?
Yes.
And then I'll put a link to your next mod show as well, like before.
Yeah. Instagram, TikTok. I promise I will do more of my TikTok this year. That's kind of the goal, but it's at Miss Adrian Snow. You can follow me
Awesome.
there. So yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you all for introducing yourselves and telling the listener a little bit more about what you're up to and where you can be found. Let's get into some. I want to first start by teeing up, which most of you already did this, but if you want to jump back in, you're more than welcome to. Sort of when this game hit you when you had your moments with it before we actually talk about the history and context and then our deep discussion. For me, this is one that which is kind of typical for me on this series, I didn't play until the last few weeks. And then it was sort of a game so I got it for the Nintendo Switch 2. There's no Nintendo Switch 2 edition. There's not really a need for one for this game, but I played through it in about 10 days and just found it really hard to put down. I would say the only reason I was more excited to play other titles was because I wanted like a break from it at times to sort of let certain things sink in about the game because
That makes sense. That's probably the best way to play it, honestly.
yes, I just had enough time before the end of this month just to let it breathe rather. So that was my first and only experience with it. And I believe Adrian, you were just talking about how it came to you. Roxy, you did the same, right? Talking about on stream?
Yeah, I was streaming it with a friend who like lived close by at the time. She doesn't live here anymore. She moved away. But so we were like kind of talking about it at the same time, but I wasn't like as plugged in until like I got to sort of play it on my own because I had like a second save file or like played through it again. You don't have save files, I don't think. I can't even remember. But I played through it like twice, once with somebody else on stream, then once on my own, to kind of, let stuff sink in a little bit as you were talking about. And it was a really interesting experience to be playing it along with someone else sitting next to me and then playing it with chat as well, like kind of chiming in on things. Because there's a lot of different perspectives with a lot of different characters in this game, and a lot of things are, like a lot more relatable to some people than others. So it's cool to like hear different people's kind of takes or things that like super connected with them from this game because there's a lot going on.
Do you remember specifically, was this a game that your friend kind of brought to you? Do you remember hearing about it?
I guess I was kind of like plugged into it. The art style is like very charming, but also like all of the characters are adults going through like adult problems kind of stuff. Like they're a lot more sophisticated themes than like maybe the character designs you'd like think of when you're just looking at it in passing. But I was playing a lot of like these types of narrative games, like puzzle games. I don't think this game is a walking simulator, but it's more like a point and click adventure. Although apparently a lot of people kind of debate the genre of it because there's like platforming and stuff. But I just love like narrative focused games, and this seemed like, they put a lot of heart and soul into the writing for it. So it was immediately on my radar because of that. But then it took me a few years to get to it, just because of backlog.
As that happens. Haley, I'm sure you said on your original episode, I could have done my homework and just gone back to listen.
I could have rewatched it too, so we both did it, so we're even. It's fine.
So that just leads me to the same question, which is, do you remember how you discovered this game or why you played it in the first place?
I know I played it. I was living with my best friend Michael. We were both 22, and we just got an apartment together, and we were really psyched. We found something to hold our TVs on in the garbage so we could have our TVs next to each other. We're like, yeah. When like you don't have money for furniture and you just find like some rich person will throw out something awesome. You're like, what the hell? And we just painted, and now it's our furniture. I think it was a church threw it out, and it was a Bible like holder from the front of the church. And we cut out the back so that we could fit our PlayStations and stuff, and then painted it blue, and so all our consoles and games were in it.
Yes.
That's amazing and feels very apt for this game as well.
Right? Yeah,
Was
like our garbage furniture.
This is jogging my memory. Did your dad help paint this?
He did. He helped us cut it. He brought his little jigsaw over because
sweet.
it was so short. Like it only was thick enough to fit like the Bibles that would be all in a row. And obviously PS4s are like long. And so we needed like perfectly cut shapes so we could stick our PS4s through the back so it looked like they fit from the front. We kind of like, and so my dad came over with a jigsaw and we like cut out the shape of the Wii U. What were our consoles? The Wii U, our two PS4s, and I think we had an Xbox 360 that we like never turned on, but we just wanted the fourth little area to look cool, so we did that as well. And then we just played Overwatch mainly on those two TVs. We say our 22nd year was the best year of our friendship because we just sat and played Overwatch for like hours at a time. But I want to say that it was on PS Plus. And maybe that's how I found it. But what year did it come out? Was it 2014 this game released, or 2015? Would that be a long enough time for it to be on PS Plus only a couple years later?
I know it
messy.
says it's set in 2017 in the game, but
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah, the release dates are kind of messy because
2017 on Wikipedia.
Okay.
Yeah.
but it could, yeah.
So I
Mm.
must have played it late or like early 2017 when it first came out. So maybe I heard about it when it was first coming out because Michael and I lived together 2016, 2017. That's like how I know when I played it, just like who
Yes.
I was living with kind of thing. And yeah, I played it for the first time that year and it was the fall. Was it the fall? Because I was burning my candle, so it must have been the fall.
Yeah, so again, perfect
Which we
for the
know Bath and
gaming.
Body
Trying
Works
to rem
leaves.
Yeah.
Bath and Body Works sleeves. And just instantly fell in love with it, partly because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life at that point, and that's
Mhm.
like kind of the main
Oof.
arc
Yeah.
that May is going through in that game.
Mhm.
My parents would call me and like they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I'd just be like, "Oh," it's like you'd see their name on your phone. You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to have one of those chats for
Mm.
45 minutes. I just want to ignore that and do something else," which is very much like the vibe of this game. It's your parents being worried for you, thinking they know better than you, which they probably do, but you're stuck being like an early 20 something, not knowing what you want to do with your life, and everyone's mad at you. So it was escapism, but also the exact same thing I was doing. So I would just play this and be like, wow, I feel so seen. It was like one of those spooky things where it felt like it was writing at me.
Mm.
Mm.
And the author was me writing it at the same time I was experiencing it, sort of thing. That's why it really resonated right away. And
Mm.
obviously May has like crazy anxiety and girl same. So that also
Yeah.
helped as well. And the
Yeah,
writing's so good.
Mhm.
gosh, the context in which you all played it seems so much more significant and so perfectly timed in your own
It was
different ways.
spooky.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I'm
felt weird.
yeah. Like I wish I had it's the context in which I played it, which is January 2026, 35-year-old person, also still figuring a lot out for myself.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, which we'll get into, there's plenty of things I still relate to May
Mhm.
in or with, and then other things where I'm like, wow, I remember when that was me. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm sure context for all of us could continue to come up. Feel free to share if you have more things you want to share as we get into it as well. Oh, Haley, I think lastly I wanted to ask you, I mean, you actually told this already. You used to replay this game every fall. When was the last time you booted it up? Was it like a few years ago?
Probably 3-ish years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I would play it every fall. And what's fun about this game is it has a lot of replayability. So you can flip between whose chapter you play, if it's
Yeah.
Greg or Bee's or Angus's or what's the rat's name? Some
Oh,
Oh,
someone's
it's
Germ?
like
character.
Germ or
Germ or
Germ.
Yeah.
germs. And then you like if you choose one, you can't do the other one. Like you have to
Yeah.
replay it in order to get their chapter.
Yeah.
So I would kind of like pace myself and say, oh, next year I'll do that
Oh,
again, and I'll do Germ and Angus next year. And then it's been so long that I forget what the Greg and B stuff is. So I'll go do Greg and B again. I would flip
Mhm.
flop back
oh,
and
that's
forth
cute.
every year. And there's like a lot of other things I do in the fall. Like I always watch Over the Garden Wall with my partner
Mm.
and like
that's
like
perfect.
diligently every year just to because the fall vibes are so immaculate. It's like my favorite time of year that I kind of force the feeling on myself early by doing all this media stuff at the same time every year to
Yes.
Pavlovianly trick myself into being happy it's fall. So I don't
Well,
know.
that's
I have
kind
a
of like
weird
making a
association.
tradition for yourself. I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And I bet too, where you live, you actually have seasons and it actually gets cold in the fall, right?
Mm.
Oh yeah, we get the people come up here and their little cruise ships just to stare at our brown leaves and then they go home.
Yep,
It's like a
that
whole
was
it's
my
an
parents did that
industry.
exact thing last year, and they told me they were there, and I was like, "Well, good for you enjoying some of that fall."
It's really
Yeah,
pretty.
Which
yeah,
part of Canada are you at then? Like which coast, I guess? 'Cause you're
On
talking about cruise
almost as
ships.
East
far
Coast?
east as you can go. I'm on in Nova Scotia, which is to
Okay.
the right of Ontario and all that. We get a lot of cruise ships coming in. Sarah told me that they're called leaf peepers. Sarah from IMAX. I never heard that term, but I like that term, so I started using that since she taught me that. But a lot of leaf peepers, and they come, and I don't. I mean, I guess it's like if you're not from somewhere where it happens, it's interesting, but I'm like, they're just dying trees.
yeah.
It is really pretty, but spending what thousands on a boat to come look at some dead trees is pretty funny to me. But
I will say there's a whole Korean drama devoted to like the love of a Canadian leaf that fall like called Guardian, the Great and Lonely God, and he's like a god, so he can transport himself between Canada and South Korea
oh,
conveniently.
Oh
nice.
wow.
And like a plot point is that there's like this leaf that he catches midair, and if you catch it midair, that means like you're looking at the person who's gonna be like the love of your life or something.
Ooh, how
So those leaves,
romantic.
man, we love those
I
brown
like that. I've
Ah,
never caught one, so that
especially,
sounds so
it's not that
tragic.
we don't have leaves in Los
Not
Angeles
those
like Adrian and I,
leaves.
but like
Yeah.
they don't fall when they should. They don't look the right color. Like
Yeah.
even just visiting my family, I'm off topic now, but visiting my family for Thanksgiving this year in Northern California, completely
Mm.
different. Like there's orange on the ground everywhere. It's great.
Hmm.
So I understand the leaf peepers and why they visit up there. Um, well, great. Did anybody else have any context they wanted to keep sharing, or can we get into the history of this game a little bit?
I was gonna say I was in my early 30s when I first played. And it was because yeah, I wasn't like in my 20s, so I didn't identify with that part. But it was nice to realize that you go through kind of like that same moment in your life over and over again, where it's like if it's not your
Yeah.
parents, it's yourself or your friends being like, "What are you doing with your life? This part of you needs to change." And you kind of going, "I agree, but I don't know how like to get
Hmm.
past this point." So it was really interesting to not identify with necessarily the age that they were at that point or even dropping out of college because I didn't, but understanding that big change and big transitions in your life kind of feel the same no matter how old you are. So that was really cool. That's
That's
it.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's Adrian, to what you're saying, there are aspects of this game that I think what you're speaking to specifically that kind of come in like seasons in my life.
Hmm.
It's maybe not the same concept that, people into horoscopes refer to as the Saturn's return, but there are some similarities there from what
Hmm.
I've heard. So thank you for sharing that as well.
Yeah, of course.
Let's get into some history and context. Set the scene a little bit for any listeners out there who maybe are not as familiar with this game. I'm gonna just monologue for a few paragraphs, but I might leave some space for you all, or if you just want to jump in, experts out there, you all three have the green light. So, without further ado, Night in the Woods is a 2017 single-player adventure game developed by Infinite Fall and Secret Lab and published by Finji. The three primary designers were Alec Holoka, Scott Benson, and Bethany Hockenberry. Set in a world of zoomorphic, as they describe, humans, which for the listener, there are people in this game, but they're all represented as different animals. So, main character May is a cat. Her best
Hmm.
friends are, I think, an alligator, a bear, and a fox is what
Yeah.
Greg
Yeah,
is.
I think he
So
said Fox.
some of them are a little ambiguous, but it's like a community in a town inhabited by animals. The story follows, as we already said, a young woman named May, who's 20 years old and drops out of college and returns to her hometown to find unexpected changes. Without direction, May moseys about town reconnecting with old friends, making melancholic discoveries about change, and stumbles her way into a haunting mystery. The game was funded via Kickstarter, where it earned over four times its initial $50,000 funding goal. So I guess about $200,000. And prior to the release of Night in the Woods, a companion game titled The Longest Night was released in December 2013 by Holoka and Benson, along with Hockenberry working on that as well. And then in 2014, in December as well, a second supplemental game was released titled Lost Constellation. Unfortunately, as I was prepping for today's episode and, putting some context in here, I realized I didn't spend time to touch either of these. Have any of you played these two little side games?
No.
I
Can you find
have,
it
but
still?
forever ago. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you can still find them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if
Um,
they're like as DLC or something. I definitely played these on stream, but I forgot they existed, so I
Mhm.
didn't look them up for this. So until you're mentioning it, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, those did exist.
Yeah, I'm
The
getting.
Constellation one is basically just like the Constellation mini game from the main game,
Hmm.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
mostly
yeah,
exclusively that. That's all
Yeah.
I really remember.
Yeah. Haley, were you going to say something about either of these?
I don't remember a lot, but I
Yeah.
do. Yeah, it kind of just felt like the blueprint for what was like the side quote unquote mini games. Because even still, they don't really feel like mini games in the game, but
Yeah.
Yeah. The
it just
dream
kind of
games.
was like, yeah, like an expansion of that with a different character who had a different name. What
Hmm.
type of animal was that other
Yeah.
character? Like, I can't really remember the details of what it was
I
now.
didn't even
Yeah.
remember them being a different character, so you're
Yeah,
ahead of me.
it wasn't May. It was another animal, but I can't remember
Interesting.
much more than that. Yeah.
Huh.
So sort of like the little side, I guess, activities, maybe that feels like a way to describe them, almost like a kid's like
Yeah.
craft in some ways.
Yeah.
Um, moving on here, the game was released on February 21st, originally for Windows, Mac, Linux, and PlayStation 4 after a pushed back original release date of January 10th. The Xbox One version was released the following December, and an extended version of the game titled The Weird Autumn Edition was released for Windows, Mac, Linux, PS4, and Xbox One it's the same day as the Xbox One version came out, and also for the Nintendo Switch a couple months later on February 1st, 2018. It features new content not seen in the first release, as well as supplemental games. I think it's referring to the activities we were talking about, and a version for iOS was released later on September 9th, 2021. Night in the Woods was met with high praise for its art style, music, and narrative exploration. And the last little bit that I wanted to include here, which we talked about a little bit pre-show, was in 2019, the studio Infinite Fall cut ties with developer Alex Holoka after he was accused of sexual assault and canceled the title that they were working on at the time. And 4 days later, after the allegations were brought to light, he did end up taking his own life. So, kind of a somber tone to end the history and context on, but felt important to include. Aside from maybe that portion, or if someone wants to expand on it, is there any history and context any of you happen to know about the game that we should include, or a detail that you're like, this will be helpful to know before diving into our discussion?
I'm blown away that they only asked for 50K on Kickstarter. That's nothing.
Sounds like a 2013 figure that someone might put in there.
Yeah, that's like half of one team member's salary. You know what I mean? Like how they were gonna make a whole game out of that, and even still, they only ended up getting. I guess they had Finji's that probably supplemented a lot of the other funding. But when you said they got 4 times the amount they wanted, which was 50K, I was like, Jesus, that's. It's like rent in California for like a year, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Half a year?
Goodness.
A year.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit. How much?
I guess it depends on the apartment you're renting.
Depends on the apartment, yeah. Maybe 2 years, honestly. I'm like looking at my rent, like, wait a second, I don't pay that much.
Yeah, let's do some calculating. Yeah, that's interesting. Anything else from you all before we dive into our main discussion?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, talking about, our thoughts and feelings about this game, place I wanted to start was just as a jumping off point is the first impression I got of this, which is discussing the art style of the game and I guess the artistic presentation of it. The way that I would describe this game is that it's almost as if you're playing the whole game is presented. Well, it's 2D first of all, so it's a flat surface, but all the characters look like they're kind of made of like little paper crafts in a way, which I find really charming, and just still can't stop thinking about the design of some of the characters, whether they be unorthodox or just really cute and charming. Is this something that resonated with the three of you at all?
Yeah, before Night in the Woods, I have mainly been playing like AAA games because I just returned to gaming after like a 13-year hiatus. So I was like, Red Dead Redemption. So it was nice I wasn't sure about it at first when I started because it was kind of not the style I'd been playing up until that point, but it was nice to take a break and just really focus on the story and not necessarily have to be like quote unquote greatest gamer, to successfully go through the game versus I could just some things are challenging. Some of those puzzles are challenging, but to really focus on just like, oh, the design is like nice and pleasant to the eye. It's kind of soothing in a weird way.
Yeah, it's cozy. It has a cozy feel to it.
It does have a cozy vibe, yeah.
Yeah, even when things are maybe a little spooky or like a little tough to like narrative wise to get through.
You're always just going back to the same place. Yeah, so it's like really nice.
The palette's very intentionally fall as well. Like a lot of like it's trying to evoke those few weeks in the year when everything's orange and red and stuff. So that always just was really cozy as well.
Fall is also like a transitionary period, kind of. I mean, like every season is to some extent, but fall especially feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like it's got to be intentional as well.
Yeah, I would even describe it as maybe this would resonate with you, Adrian, talking about getting back into gaming as this sort of inviting art style. Like it's pleasant. It's something that just even not that it's easy on the eye in like a degrading way, but it's like welcoming in a way that
Hmm.
drew me to the game. And I it's not just like the paper of it that I described, but the color scheme that you all were referring to
Hmm.
is just so warm. And Roxy, like you said, it's cozy. It really makes me think of that season and probably most other people who play the game as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. My cat also loves it.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I have, well, because I've been replaying it, and so my youngest kitty, Jeff Goldblum is his name. He'll stand and he'll just watch me play it because he likes to see like there's always like little critters running or like leaves blowing
Hmm.
through. So it's like really just well designed in terms of like the world is constantly living as you walk through it, and he loves it. He loves watching it. He loves watching May
Cute.
because it's a cat and he can recognize that that's a cat. And so like in a weird way, he's always kind of like, oh, look at this anthropomorphic cat thing
Yes.
on two legs walking around. Um, so it's pleasant to humans and animals.
My cat doesn't react to like monitors or TVs
Oh, really?
usually, but two things happened this week. One was with this game. The first of which she was oftentimes when I'm like working or editing in this computer, she'll sit here and I never signed up for like the official Windows operating system, so I just have
Mm.
like a Windows 10 like trial on my computer, so it cycles through desktop backgrounds you don't get to choose. And this one afternoon, it chose like some sort of like big cat creature was just
Mm.
on the background, and I had my left monitor where you were all in my view was
Mm.
empty, and she like looked up from my lap and got a little startled by it. So that happened.
Oh no.
I think she could just because it looked like a window to her, and
Yeah.
she saw another. The cat is just, I guess, so recognizable to her. But then when I was playing the game, she saw the. I was like in May's laptop,
Hmm.
and she saw the cursor move, and that scared her for some
Oh
reason.
Oh
wow.
So
Oh, she's so
no.
two
scared.
completely different things, but
You just never know. Like
yeah.
Xander, my other cat, when I play The Sims, there's a version of him in The Sims because it's me. And
Cute.
he knows the sound of it. He'll come over and wait to see like himself pop up. It's so weird.
Wow.
That's really
Much more
cute.
intelligent than my cat.
They love
She's
it.
not to go on this tangent too long, but she has only reacted to three things ever. Those two things I described this last week, and then when I played the game The Last Guardian, she freaked
Mm.
out when she first saw the big dog, cat, bird
oh,
creature.
Cute.
Mm.
Uh,
oh.
Leapt out of her chair. The movement was too realistic.
Oh,
Um,
Daphne, she's such a little scaredy, but she's so
yeah,
cute.
that sweet scared cat.
I
But
also say the motion of the creature in that game of Trico is just it's so well done and well
yes,
observed for like real animals. So she knew she was picking up on that.
big
Yay.
time. Definitely was one of the reasons that it tugged at my heartstrings so much playing that game. Thinking about not, we don't have to stay on art for so long, but as we're talking, it's it's interesting how some of the world is presented too. Some of it feels very straightforward, like whether you're in May's like neighborhood or in one of the many shops and stores or buildings you go into. But then there's like that, and maybe it's just trying to represent a hill, but that like screen between May's house, like the exterior of her house and the few homes that are there, and then the town sort of square where that begins is
Mm.
that one hill. Do you all remember that goes so high where you can like jump on people's roofs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
When
think
you
they're.
the wire, the
Oh
electric.
yes, and you can take that a certain distance, the telephone wire.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're trying to say something that by representing that in such an abstract way. It could just be a hill now that I'm starting to speak out loud.
No, no, I think we talked about this in our first episode, Connor, because we talked about the like May comes out of her house, and then in most other 2D platformers, you always go right, but May goes left every day.
Yes.
And so it's kind I always kind of viewed that as like regressing backwards into your hometown, regressing backwards into your
Wow.
childhood. And then I never thought about the hill part though, because she regresses back and then it's hard, so she immediately gets an incline.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we could just be reading way more into it, and the developers would go, "Yeah, I guess." But it does have a sort of you can feel the otter hand kind of there. I think you might be
Hmm.
onto something.
Yeah, there could be. Yeah, and that's a really could be a more profound interpretation than is actually there, but that's our interpretation. So maybe that is what's going on.
Well, I've
Um,
heard other people bring this up too, and because it
oh,
is sort of abnormal, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
reading method too, like right to left, left to right, and how it is in Western like reading as well.
Mhm.
Like normally in all platformers, like you said, you're going in that one direction, but this
Yeah.
generally, ha especially when you start the game going back home, you were going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's got to be intentional as a design choice to some
And
Uh,
extent.
you also
And there's
can't
no
really,
way to go right. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
You're
I was
probably
gonna
gonna say the
say
same thing.
you can't go right because there's construction, so you can't really go past that point unless you're turning. You're always like it always ends at you going back home. If you go left and you have to go back, then you're just going back home, and that's all you can
mhm.
go. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see
even
that for sure.
the at the for most of the game, even the telephone wire that you can get on there, you can't. I've
Yeah,
tried
yeah,
jumping over the construction guys, and there's just an invisible wall, which is fine. But
yeah.
that I did you all do you remember checking? I would check every day to see if the construction guys were done because I was like, at some point, there's going to be something interesting here.
Yeah, I
Um,
would talk to everybody every day
yeah, I did
Yeah.
on
talk to
Yeah.
that
everyone every
just to
day
make
so
sure
far. I
something
didn't
Same.
happened.
realize that you could go, or maybe I did, and I just forgot that you could keep going. Once the donkey grocery store opens up, you can keep going past if you're walking through the town
Mm,
and go run into Germ. Because I don't think the first time I played, I really interacted with Germ because I didn't go past that point. Because originally you couldn't. So
yeah.
maybe I don't think it ever opens up, but maybe there's a way to get it to open.
Yeah, I mean, that is making me think of as I was playing this game,
Mhm.
and there's so much to interact with, whether it be people or places to go, and things that can kind of change every so often. It's not that something will be different every day, but after maybe 3 days, an element could change, like the construction guys leaving after a certain point or someone being in a certain spot. But yeah, Adrian, that was really making me think of just the lived in sort of nature and more specifically, all of the things that I probably missed playing this game, even though I was being thorough. Like the amount of things you can experience and conversations you can have for this small package is really, really cool.
Mhm.
I definitely I wonder if I even scratched the surface, but some of you have multiple playthroughs. So that's probably interesting to see.
Yeah, I think with Germ you can go into the grocery store if you do Germ's quest. I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure
Ooh.
you break in and go in there
Oh,
and
that's
find.
with Greg. That's
Oh yeah,
how,
it's with Greg.
yeah, that's how it
What
opens up to you to keep going
is
past like
Germ
the
the train
diner.
track mission? They're learn
Probably.
probably.
Yeah.
And are we so Germ, can you basically spend time with him as opposed to one of the 3 nights that you can spend with the other two? That's what you were saying?
Yeah, you can hang out with Germ one night.
Mm.
And then, if you what's not fun about this game too is like what May draws in her little journal will depend on what you pick. So sometimes you'll see like empty pages and it's because you picked the opposite of what that could be. So when you eventually get
Mm.
a full journal, it's so satisfying because you've done like
Oh.
everything and every little interaction. Like even if you're just having a conversation with somebody, like your grumpy neighbor, she'll stop and draw like a mean drawing of your neighbor with like X's for eyes or something. She's like stinky neighbor, and you wouldn't get that doodle unless you talk to him on day one or something. So those
Mm-hmm.
sometimes be things you missed. I think one of the trophies is fill out her journal, which was like one of the harder ones to get.
Mm-hmm.
But it had fun trophies as well. Most of them were just like do all of Greg's things, do all of B's things, do all of Angus's things, so that
Yeah.
encouraged you to play it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's the one drawback of playing on the Switch is I didn't get any of those endorphins when I'm like maybe would have been activating a trophy or an
Oh,
achievement.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, there's probably plenty of places we could jump off from here, but I'm going to open it up to the group right now. I'd love to know like the things that come to mind when you think about your experience playing this game. Haley, I'll turn to you first, since we've discussed this before, but top of mind when you think about Night in the Woods, what comes to mind for you?
Probably how realistic the conversation was with her mom in the kitchen when they're having a fight.
Mm.
Oh,
And it was like freaking me out because it was, sometimes writing in TV movies where stuff can be kind of pandering. It's like, go to your room. You're not my mom. Like it's very exaggerated because they need something to feel drama for me to be entertained. But it was such a quiet, like, God, this sucks. Like you're not doing what I want you to do. It's like, well, I don't want to, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. that really stuck out to me as a conversation because it reminded me of a conversation I had with my mom. So then I was doubly down, like, oh God, this game is scaring me. It's like it's recording my audio and knows what I talk about. And the other one that's a real gut punch is B's breakdown after the party when she's essentially has the super valid crash out of like, your life is exactly what I want my life to be, and you threw it all away. I hate you for that. And I was like, that's such a valid critique. But like May would never think of it that way because that's just not her perspective in life. But for somebody else who's stuck in the hometown and can't leave, May's opportunity to go to college is like the biggest gift, and she squandered it. And that's like her worldview, which is also totally valid. Like seeing those two things clash, I remember being like, wow, that's really good writing. Like, because even I could feel what May felt in that moment of like, oh my God, I've been such a dick this whole time, and like complaining about school when that's her biggest dream, essentially. It's like, what a horrible realization to have that your best friend is resentful towards you and you've just been rubbing it in and making everything worse the whole time. That was really
Yeah.
good.
Was this at the mall or right after the party?
This is after, so you get to go to a nearby city with B, and she gets invited to like a college party essentially.
Oh, okay, okay.
And B kind of like cosplays university student when she goes to these parties and lets herself forget about her small town obligations for a little bit. It's like her one point of escapism, and May kind of, craps all over it and is like, this party's lame, everyone's so pretentious and blah blah blah. And then she runs off. May finds her and she's like, can you just let me have like one night a month where I get to pretend to have what you got given to you on a golden platter and like that kind of stuff. You're like, oh my God, like it's just such a interesting juxtaposition after being only in May's eyes looking around and being like, yeah, I don't want to go back. That sucked. I had a bad time. And like, it's valid that she just want to go back. She had major depressive episodes and had bad mental health. So I don't like critique her for leaving school. She wanted to, but then the immediate opposite side of that perspective of like, your parents gave you something and you squandered it, like hadn't really been explored yet until that slap in the face. And I remember that was like, oh, she's right. He's
Yeah.
right.
There's so many moments in this game that feel very authentic. I feel like that is the strength, talking about the writing and the narrative, is how it comes from a place that feels so, yeah, authentic and real and earned for me. Whether it be something as small as like that conversation you're talking about, Haley, or the argument with May and her mom. It doesn't, it's not like it's something that like there's just an explosion out of nowhere one day. It comes after like 4 or 5 days of her mom just being like, hey honey, what's wrong? I'd love to talk to you about this. And May just refusing, not being ready for that. And this is also interpretation, but I would understand if her mom was getting more and more frustrated or worried, and then it does kind of just blow up one day, even if it's more of like an even keel. Yeah,
Can I
Adrian?
say, at least when I played it this round, I think I was given the option to talk about college stuff. And once I said yes, I was like, oh, I regret this, because
Mm.
right before I said yes, it was made clear to me that the mom was like in a bad mood.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, I should have waited. I mean, I think no matter what, it becomes like an argument between them.
Yes.
But you end up being, at least in my gameplay, a little bit more on May's side in terms of it, because it kind of feels like the mother is pulling it out of nowhere, and that
Mm.
she's like got her own feelings about it, and she like kind of lashes out at May, and then May lashes back out at her. And maybe it's just because I am a daughter. Like I was like, I mean, it'd be like that sometimes. That
Well, I
it was,
think also you don't exactly know why May left at this point as the
yeah,
player. And so like
exactly.
Yeah.
you're not really sure. You're like, I'm playing through as you, so I'm trying to understand you.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if she hasn't told her mom about this, then maybe it's like this really big thing that's very hard to talk about or something. Like it could be anything. And like the mom, she's just concerned about her kid, and they did all this stuff to like get her where she's going. But I'm not sure if it's in that conversation where she talks about how like, yeah, I'm the first one in the family to go to college, and that
Yeah.
was your dream, and you're
Yeah.
living through me, and it wasn't my dream, which was just very much like, ooh, okay, like that
Yeah.
alone would be enough of a reason to just peace out.
And then she's like, I'll be a failure like everyone else in this family. And I was like, ooh,
Yeah, yeah,
ouch.
punching.
I wouldn't say that to my mom.
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, that was a really a great, just really great dialogue. I also really liked the fight with B in her room when she goes to have dinner with B at
Oh,
Oh,
her house.
yes.
I hadn't
Hmm.
played that before. I went with Greg instead. So I like reversed it originally after the party where she gets too drunk. I hung out with B and then I hung out with Greg the next time. And so I remembered that and I was like, I want to see what happens if I do it reverse. So me and B had never been in a fight before, and like not at her house. And it was fascinating because there was no way to stop it. Like I was like, I just want to walk away, or I want May to stop saying these things. And like one option was like, uh, you don't just have there's always a choice, and the other option was you can always choose. I was like, no, it's the same thing.
Yeah, you're like stuck with May's personality, even though you get
Yeah.
choices. So if she can't
Yeah.
think of it, and
Yeah.
like she's honestly trying to help her friend, she's just like not really realizing how to go about doing that. So she just says things that hurt her because she does not really understand what she's going through.
Yeah.
that
And B is also so caught up in it too that she's like she's only seeing the hurt it's causing her too. She's not seeing that her
Exactly.
friend is trying to like help her. And it's like, well, maybe if we had a discussion about this and you told her about the stuff that's going on, she could understand it better. And they
there
eventually do. But
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
you gotta have
yeah.
that fight first to realize you're just not connecting.
It's just a really real fight. And I was like, oh, this is like stuff that, with my best friend, I've definitely had conversations like this where it's like, what is the breakdown in communication that's happening right now? Like, why are we not understanding each other? And being like, okay, let's just take some space and we'll come back when we can like hear each other. So it's great. Writing. Not a great feeling to be in a fight, but
Yeah, especially because like later on they talk about how like B says that May is the closest thing to a sister she's ever had, so like they feel
mm,
like family. It's just
Yes.
like,
hmm
they're they're best friends, not just like friends.
yeah.
Hmm.
There are there's so much about playing a character who has their own, and this is a bigger discussion with games in general, but as the player character being May and having this conflict of like what May is just how she is a fully shaped person and she has a personality and we're going to see the results of that personality through this game and how her relationships are affected, but being a player who she's not an empty husk that you just get to go and make your own path and choices within this
hmm
game, but there are plenty of times where you can self-express or make little choices like we were talking about of how you say something or even who you spend your time with. But this game, one of the things that I find so special about it is how being that we are sort of like being this puppeteer of May and not having all the information that she has in
hmm
moments like the B argument about the why don't you just leave your job, like it's obviously not serving you, you need to get out of here and go live your life. Even May has should have the information that B is taking care of her dad and she lost her mom and she doesn't want to see her dad's business go away and he's wasting away on the couch. But of course, May is a little self-centered in this game and this narrative. So it almost serves it so well that you wouldn't know and that you don't really have a choice to continue to push forward in that conversation. I was
hmm
kind of
Yeah.
struck by that. And that happens, there's a few different expressions of that in this game that I was just at first was frustrating because when you see her, at least for me, when you
hmm
see her continually like put a stick in her bike wheel as she's going through this whole game,
Yeah.
metaphorically speaking, you want her to be happy and to feel better or to grow up or to solve her problems, but even we can't really do that for her.
hmm
It's the character just
Yeah.
has to go through this narrative, which I don't know, I had like a change of heart about it while I played the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is nice that she's not somebody that can easily be fixed or solved in a single game, or gameplay or ever, really. Like it's like that is just growing up and that is life. I have 2 points. One point is that like when you play like Red Dead Redemption 2, you can black hat or white hat it, and you can see that like I think Arthur Morgan's a really well written character, but at the same time, it is kind of like a pretty much cut and dry like way you can style you can play the game. Like I played as a white hat all the way through the first round. Then I tried to go back and play as a black hat, and I made it about 2 hours in before I was like, I am too good of a person, I think. Like, this is hurting my actual feelings. Um, so it's nice to have a character that just like, no, you don't make these like clear, decisive choices for them. Like
Hmm.
they are going to move how they move through the world, and you just have to deal with that. And then my second point is, I really like that a big reason why May is bad, is like a bad friend, is because of her depression.
Hmm.
And they talk about how depression, anxiety, and she has another mental illness or mental disorder that she's dealing with too, can affect your like memory. So it's not that
Hmm.
she's just forgetting things. Like I remember at my most depressed, I was just a horrible friend because I can't think about anything other than being depressed. Like, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't like you tell me stuff and I want to remember it, but I'm also just like constantly just trying to wake up in, in the morning. And so it was nice to see that reflected of like, yeah, it's not just like she's like a bad person or a bad friend. She's just
Yeah.
not remembering stuff from like 5 years ago because she's been traumatized for the past year. And I
Yeah, and she
appreciate
hasn't even
that.
been there for the past 2 years either. So
Yeah,
like, it'd be fair to forget a lot of this stuff naturally, even without all that on top of it.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point. Haley, were you going to say something?
I muted my mic while I looked
Oh,
it up, but I was just saying I Googled this to remember if this doesn't happen or if I just misremembered it. But there is a moment where May forgets that Bee's mom died.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
She was
yeah,
also like
that's
drunk too, I
and
think.
she's like, "Why couldn't you ask your mom what you want to do or something?" Yeah, when she's drunk in the car on the way home. And then obviously B has
yes.
another valid crash out. Like, are you
Yeah.
serious? You literally came to the funeral. Like, how can you forget my mom's dead? Kind of thing. You're just like, that's another one of those moments where you're like, the options are like, duh or ugh, and you just are
Yeah.
stuck with those two options. You're like, God damn it,
You're
May,
like,
you're so
ah,
insufferable. Yeah.
May.
They're talking about the minor sort of expression that you can do in this game. And even though we are playing as May, there was one aspect I wanted to talk about and see if any of you do this in games or did this in this title, is that I was trying to find ways to sort of role play as her as things went on in the narrative, like for whether that be me just sort of like slowly walking somewhere as opposed to running, or running and jumping. The jumping's kind of, especially when you do the triple jump in this game. I mean, it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
a, it's a minor little boost you get, but it's fun, and she makes a little like noise and flings out her arms. But there'd be like acrobatic things I would do to sort of express myself. But one thing specifically that I remember is that I don't know what fight it was, but I had gotten in a fight with either B or May's mom. And see, I'm saying I got in a fight. It's going to be interchangeable here. I, she, and May. But I remember I woke up one of those mornings, which I think it's cool. I'm pretty sure I didn't test this, but you could just let the sort of morning music play forever as she lays in bed.
Hmm.
Does anyone know if that stops you at a certain point?
Probably not. I don't know for sure, but it gives like you could leave that there
Yeah.
for your background on your TV
Which
for
Yeah,
hours kind of
because
thing.
there's no pause. So I think it's kind of set up, designed to be like, well, if you don't activate it,
if
we'll
you don't
just
want to
stay
get out of
here.
bed,
Yeah.
depressed
Yeah.
person, you could just stay.
Hmm.
Um, there was a morning where I woke up and I was so mad. Well, I was mad from the night before, or still upset about the interaction that had happened, that before I went out and did anything, I think it was one of the earlier moments before you actually go to band practice. Oh no, I had been to band practice. I was like, I'm gonna jam out on my bass right now. So I like went over to the bass and picked it up and just did a song and just jammed out. And it was so weird because like it kind of changed my mood doing
Mm.
the little
Aw.
Guitar Hero sort of mini game
Hmm.
that they have, the rhythm game. Um, yeah, is that something that do you do that sort of things in games? Did you all find ways that you would play this game specifically or go about it?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was ready to like talk to B after the fight immediately.
Yeah.
And so I kept circling around the pickaxe, trying to be like, can I go in now? I can't go in yet? Okay.
Yes.
What?
She's
I
not
really want
answering your
to.
MSN messages and it makes you doubly anxious.
It's in a
Yes.
way. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like my own personal style of like how I like to deal with conflict is like, can we resolve this quickly? Like,
Yeah.
how much space do you need? You need space? Okay, I'll give you space. It's been 3 days. Are you
Yeah.
still good? Like, um, but So yeah, some of that would like click in where I'd feel like my own anxiety kick in with
Mm,
May for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm too much of a people pleaser in games. Like I have to be good, the good boy. My Arthur was good boy Arthur 100%. I
And
can't play
he's the
him any other way.
best.
It feels wrong otherwise.
I accidentally
Um,
shot at a black person in playing Red Dead Redemption, and I was like, "Well, they're just gonna kill me.
oh
I'm not
no.
gonna do this. I am black." In case people are listening to this, they're like, "Why would?" I was like, "Because I am black." I was like, "I will kill no black people in Red Dead Redemption 2." Um, yeah, it was great.
You
Oh
know,
my gosh.
I'm very much a people pleaser. If there's two options and one is like mad or it's okay, don't worry about it, even if you're in the right to be like, how dare you? I don't know what, something about me, I just can't press the mean thing.
It's hard.
But it's
Well, I
fun to
think
play
you
a
never
game
know.
like
Oh,
this.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's fun to play a game like this where it doesn't grant you that option sometimes because May is a conflicted individual and
Hmm.
she shouldn't get the perfect little child option because she's not a little perfect child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like so much of this game is just about May figuring things out, and so figuring things out is messy. You're gonna fall over a lot doing
Hmm.
that. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of those responses tie into that. And like the broader, we haven't really talked about like the broader stuff of what's going on with the town and like lore stuff in general.
I'd be totally fun
It's
to
like
start to
Like,
dive into that if you'd
haunted
like.
and yeah.
yeah, because there's supernatural elements, but are they? Because they're like May's dreams, and then
Hmm.
at the end there's like a cult
Hmm.
worshiping was
Oh,
it
right.
the black god, the goat god, black
Yeah.
goat?
It's so
That arm
crazy.
that just shows up on the ground and they're like, whoa, an arm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Yes.
yeah, like just things like that that are seeded through, and then like May sees someone get like kidnapped on the street, and
Hmm.
like people don't believe her because she was like, "Yeah, it looked like a ghost kidnapped him." And it's like, May, no one's gonna believe you if you say it was a ghost. Say it was just like you saw someone get kidnapped,
Yeah.
So like things like that where it takes her friends a while to believe her and everything, and like all this stumbling around where they eventually like rally around each other.
Yeah.
And then that comes full circle with like the mystery going on and stuff. So I feel like we were kind of like going towards that with like May and her friends in general because they're solving a mystery. There's weird shit going on.
Hmm.
Yeah. I didn't, even when I was, having this first playthrough, I didn't remember that that was going to be a part of the game at all until, I think it's the night, no, it's not the night of Harfest. That's when she sees the kidnapping,
Yeah.
the night of
Okay.
Harfest. But it was a little before that where they find
The
the
arm.
arm that's
That's
just
like
on
the
the
very
ground.
first day in town when she gets all her
Wow.
friends to go to
Okay,
to
go
get
get
food
pizza.
after practice. Yeah. And that's like the very first thing you see, which is like it's cool because you kind of forget about it. You go, "Oh, that's a really weird thing. It was just an arm." And everyone was kind of chill about it.
Yeah, I feel
They come
like
to
because
town.
the games I had played before this, like leading up to it, were like the Zero Escape games and I think the Sexy Brutale and stuff. So like these games where you were solving a mystery, you're solving like murders or
Hmm.
things like that. And I was like, why is nobody talking about this? They should be
Yeah.
talking about this more. There was a fucking severed arm. Somebody's missing that arm. What is this? And like May's aunt is the cop in
She
town
doesn't
who
seem to
you have like,
care.
yeah, what is it? She calls her like Aunt Mall Cop or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So
Got
it's
her.
like, yeah, how much do they care? Is it small town cop stuff where they don't know what they're doing? Or, yeah, is there something more going on? And then
Hmm.
you learn that there is something more going on, with cult sacrifices and all that.
Yeah.
And just kind of like how it's also centering around the young people in town and like the young people going missing. And it starts with Casey, who is like a
Yeah.
childhood friend of y'all's who is missing.
They say
And
he
so,
ran away, but then you're like,
yeah.
why would his
And
parents say
like,
he was missing? So,
Greg in particular was like very good besties with him. Like so was May as well, but they were like he wouldn't do that. Like he wouldn't have done that.
hmm.
And like you also encounter like a homeless guy too. There's like a
Yeah, on the
conversation in town
church.
with like some of the town like council people about like who is desirable to have in town, what they want the town
Hmm.
to look like
Mm-hmm.
to the
Hmm.
outside, where they think they're going to be like getting all this commerce or something if they do the right thing that's going to
Yeah.
revive this dying coal mine town where like young people are actively leaving or not being given opportunities to try and like build it up.
Hmm.
And they're just complaining about that instead of doing like infrastructure things that could help people to like want to stay. And
What's
like the
great.
homeless guy is one of those people who like I think the pastor lady, she does a pretty good job like, humanizing him as well as
Mm-hmm.
the other characters in town, but then you have these other people who just like don't even want to acknowledge him as like a human being deserving of empathy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just want him out. They're like, you can do your homeless thing, but do it over there away from us, okay?
Yeah. I don't think I even, if I play, when I first played it, I might have encountered the homeless guy once. I think his name's like Bill or something. And don't think I ever encountered him again because I never went over there. So the
Mm.
storyline just kind of like me and the pastor didn't have a lot of interactions because I think I was just kind of like, well, I'm not going up that hill all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and you can really just blow past entire storylines if
Hmm.
you're not focused on getting back to see what's going on. Like even with Smelders,
Oh,
the poet.
Sel, yeah, what's
Smeller,
something like that? The
like
poetry
Smelter.
bear.
Yeah.
Elmer's.
Selmers.
Um,
Selmers.
was it?
Selmers, like Elmer
Selmers.
with an S.
Yes.
Yeah.
Selmers. But I think the first few times I played, I did not listen to her poems. I might have listened like twice. And then I was like, okay, not enough today. I gotta do other stuff. And so I've made it a point to listen every single time I encounter her, which pays off when you get to the library and if you choose to stay and listen to the poems, you get to hear this like epic poem about capitalism.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I should have never skipped any of these because that's amazing.
It is
It's
really
just, yeah.
rewarding. I felt rewarded a lot for the more time that I would put into those conversations like you're
Hmm.
bringing up, Adrian. And there's plenty that I missed, but the ones that I did invest in, it was fun to either have like a conclusion or just see like a big moment for a character like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great to see and just it really kind of just makes like you understand why the mysteries happen. You understand why this coal mining t town is dying. You understand why people are cultified. If you just take the time to even like look at the clarity Barity in the library, and there's two different points where you can either talk about it being a cult or you can talk about it being something else. I can't remember, but I ended up saving the game at the wrong point, and so I had to restart the whole library,
Oh,
which is
Hmm.
fine. But that means I was like, oh, I get to hear both sides, like what she's going to say. Um, but knowing that it's going to become eventually the story about a cult, it does make sense. Like she has it in her mind that Clarity Barity is a cult, but you also could just never hear the story if you don't stop and look at the bear and have her talk about it. And so it's
Mm.
just a really well thought out video game of like, yeah, you can miss whole things. You'll still get like the gist of the game, but
It rewards the people who care to
yeah,
learn more. Really well,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah.
It feels like the effort that you put in getting to know people, you know, is rewarded. And that's kind of how it is in real life too,
It
in a
really
way, you know?
is.
Investing time in other people, getting to know them, know what's up with them, you know?
Hmm.
It's
yeah,
great.
and isn't that fun?
It
Yeah.
is.
You're talking about real life. This is something we've all kind of danced around in certain ways about the game, but how it felt for many of us in some very deep ways and some less deep. I almost said shallow. I was about to criticize myself. How this game, it does feel very authentic and lived in, and there's so much that is relatable to it. I
Mhm.
didn't grow up in like a small town, but I grew up in a town that wasn't like a big city. So that aspect of the game of May returning to her hometown that she has like nostalgia for, but it is not the town she remembers in a lot of ways. Like it's definitely
Mhm.
started to crumble, sometimes literally and sometimes more um, abstractly, was just something that, yeah, immediately struck me. And it's something that I always hear brought up about this game as a huge strength and something I don't feel I haven't necessarily seen in other games. When it comes to this aspect, this like small town nostalgia and seeing things change in maybe a sad way, is that something that struck home for any of you? I don't remember how big of towns everybody's from.
It definitely hit for me. I grew up in Anchorage, Alaska.
Mm.
And so when I was a kid, the oil pipeline stuff, like BP oil and everything, that was a huge thing.
Oh,
Like you'd have
wow.
people coming in from other countries. Like my best friend in elementary school, her parents came over from England because her dad worked for British Petroleum, BP, uh, and
Oh,
stuff
is
like
that
that.
what?
So like it was such a big deal. You'd even get dividends every year from the state because like everything costs more money. For instance, like an apple here in Oregon, where I'm at, costs a certain amount. Then you go up to Alaska and it's like three times the price just
Oof.
because having to bring it up
You have
there.
to import it, yeah.
So like just cost of living up there is more expensive in general for like items and stuff, not necessarily like housing or stuff. That's just as bad as it is anywhere else. It's not any
Mhm.
worse per se. But so you would get like these dividends every year, which like even if you're like an infant, you qualify. Every person
Wow.
would get like around $1,000 every year, and it would always feel like, hey, this big boon we're getting from the government. When it's just like, no, that's actually just supplementing how much you've been spending like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the entire
Hmm.
year. And like eventually that stuff kind of it's still going on up there, but it's not as big of a deal. Like even I think the big BP building, last time I visited there, it's like not even the BP building anymore. It's like some other just office space.
Mm.
And so they're mostly just like relying on tourism for the most part. And that's only like during the summer. So you
Yeah.
have these big stretches of winter where it's just like feels quite miserable and like never ending.
Mm.
And you've got, since it's so far up north, you've got days where you've only got a couple hours of daylight,
Yeah.
like during that winter too, where it can feel very oppressive. And like I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was Greg. I couldn't wait to get out of there. Um, but I still have friends up there who I care about, who I still talk to like almost daily still at this point. Um, but like I don't think I could ever go back there. And like this kind of gives me a little bit of an emulation of what that would maybe
Oh,
be
sure.
Mm.
like.
Hmm.
I didn't
Uh,
realize it was British Petroleum. I am this old, just now realizing that PP stands for British Petroleum. Um, and that kind of just blew my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
British still?
yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyways.
Adrian, you're from Texas, but then you moved to Atlanta, right?
Yes. My dad left the house I grew up in when I was like 20, and he's lived in the house he bought with my stepmom for 20 years. So I don't feel it as much then. But I did go home for the first time in a few years to see my mom, and I don't think I've walked through our neighborhood since I was a kid, but I've been injured, and so I have to kind of like stay active to recover from my injury. So I went for like a bit of a like walk in the morning, and I was like, oh, this neighborhood has fallen apart.
Mm.
Like it was like a brand new neighborhood when we moved in 20 something years ago. And it was like full of life, and there were a bunch of kids, and you know, basically the people who lived there 20 years ago still live there, but they don't have kids anymore. And so some of the houses were for sale, some of the houses needed work. My mom's house needed work. Um, and so it's kind of bittersweet to come home because it is Atlanta. And so people, when they think of Atlanta, they think of the city, and they think it's like it's growing, and Marvel did all this stuff for it, and Walking Dead did all this stuff for it. But in the suburbs of it, it's not, I wouldn't say as maintained as people think, the further you get away from the center of Atlanta. Um, it's just gotten old, and that's partly my fault because me and everyone else were just like, I'm leaving. And so it is like that kind of weird thing of like, yeah, what do you do to keep young people there or to get us to come back, even when it is like something like Atlanta or Houston, because people are just focused on like the downtown aspect of it. They don't realize that a lot of the suburbs are dying because also we can't afford to come back. It's like I
Yeah.
can't afford to buy a house. Like, and so um I think it's bittersweet no matter where you're at. I think that we're just in a really weird time where um the quote unquote American dream that a lot of people were sold just is no longer sustainable, and the dream that people are saying they remember isn't quite accurate. So
Hmm.
and I'll
Yeah.
leave it there.
Well, I
Politics.
mean, shrinking middle class is very
Yeah.
terrifying. Like, do any of us own
Yeah.
houses? I'm guessing we don't.
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
And it's even going to be harder for like people who come after us too. Like, I don't know. Again, not to get too doomer, but the Bezos thing where you won't even own your computer. You'll
Not
rent
my
your games. You don't
computer.
even own your game. Like all this shit
Yeah.
where like I don't know, why does it have to be so evil and mean? Like why can't you get rich and also not be a dick to people? And I feel like that's so much of capitalism doesn't care. Like you as an individual, like May and her friends as individuals, their families and stuff, capitalism doesn't care about them. It's just moving on without them and you either get on board or you live in a dying town.
Yeah.
Uh but I will say this game doesn't like linger on that as if like that is where that ends. Like towards the end of the game, like May's dad is talking about like how his work, how it used to be and how it is now. And how it's like, yeah, you and your boss respected each other. You had like fixed days that you would come in, you'd be making enough. And now it just feels like I can't even make enough however much I'm working and all this stuff.
Hmm.
And he's like, yeah, we're thinking of actually like unionizing. Like we're gonna pull together and actually do something about it. We're not gonna let them keep
Hmm.
stepping on us. And then May is like, yeah, Dad, I'm gonna come with you too.
Yes.
Like I'll be picketing with you.
Yeah.
And so it's like very much about community and how like even within a dying town like that, like you still have power or like agency, even
Yeah.
if it doesn't feel like you do, when
Yeah.
you're just on your own.
Some rays of hope in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely. I was wondering, just taking some thoughts. I was listening to the soundtrack today and being like, what do I think about this game? And I was on this particular subject, I just had the initial thought of like, would generations outside of the millennial, like all of us, relate to this game? And I think the answer is definitely yes. It's
Hmm.
just that the specifics that are in here are so tied to, all of us being such similar ages when we grew up.
Hmm.
But I think, yeah, that I would expect that our parents' generation felt similar things, and those that are, Gen Z or whatever, are going to also find this game very relatable for those particular reasons. So I hope it's less relatable as time goes on, but I don't find myself I'm trying to be more hopeful, but I don't have that. It's not that strong right now.
Well, I
Um,
think the idea of community and how it's like, humans weren't meant to live alone. We're meant to have friends. We're meant to rely on each other. You can't do
Hmm.
everything yourself. I think that is always going to be a universal thing. Not knowing
yeah,
what you want to do, struggling to figure what the hell you're going to do. That's a very universal thing no matter where you're at in
yeah.
life. You could be
Yeah.
50, 60, 70 and still feeling like that to some extent, I'm sure. Um, and yeah, so I don't know. There's
I
plenty of
hope
positives.
I hope
Yeah.
the poem about the billionaires, I hope that's the thing that becomes
Mm,
like out of style, out of date.
yes.
But growing up and like struggling and with depression and anxiety and like your parents that's like totally, I think my parents, if they're willing to go to therapy would admit to being depressed too. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I think that's like a really universal feeling, or feeling like you're never doing enough, even if
Mm.
you're given different opportunities from the generation before you or after you. I think that's really universal. I think the reasons for why we go through things, I think that changes, even though, I mean, you could talk about the Gilded Age and billionaires doing their crazy-ish then, but I think the hope is that that will be less of the story as time
Sure.
goes on.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
I
Yeah.
certainly hope so.
Um, as we round the about hour and 15-minute mark on the podcast, I want to open up before we do, conclude our thoughts and close this thing out. I There's so much about this game that we haven't gotten to discuss, or maybe even some certain trails that someone wanted to finish a thought on. So I wanted to turn to each of you and give you a chance to share something about this game that we haven't gotten to discuss, whether it be a moment in the game, one of the little activities, a character, music, anything like that. So maybe Haley, I'll turn to you first. Is there something about the game we haven't discussed that you'd love to bring up?
Yeah, I had a funny moment where I've never seen Twin Peaks until like two
Oh,
years ago.
hmm.
And
okay.
then I finally started watching Twin Peaks and I was like, oh my God, all my favorite shit is based on this.
Hmm.
Because I read
Yeah.
it's like the blueprint for all my favorite stuff. Obviously, Alan Wake, is literally has the diner
Yeah.
from Twin Peaks in it. But, starting the first season of that show and hearing the soundtrack of that show and hearing the Night in the Woods soundtrack. And I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh my God, like it's just so apparent. And it's like watching that is so fun. It kind of feels like a coming home. And even though I should have watched that first and then realized I liked all this other stuff because I like Twin Peaks, I'm doing it the other way.
Eh.
But at least I'm doing it. But that really stuck out with me, the music of just like, because this is one of, I kind of cycle through a few soundtracks when I'm working.
Hmm.
Twilight Princess is my big one these days.
Ooh.
Twilight Princess with rain sounds. Oh, it's like
Oh,
10
Ooh.
hour thing and I just grind out my work. But the other one I do a lot is Night in the Woods. And such a solid soundtrack. The music is so, so good. It's so unique. Until I watched Twin Peaks and I realized it was just extremely derivative of Twin Peaks and it was calling out to that as like inspiration form. To the point that you can hear like, I'm like, that's the song when you first are going into town for this first thing. You can like hear like the same kind of rhythms and stuff like that's very clearly inspired by it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I was listening as I was telling you to the soundtrack today as I was just writing down my thoughts, and the music was striking me as I went through the game as well, but wasn't until doing a little thinking that it really hit on what I liked about it so much too, which I haven't watched Twin Peaks yet, so I can't wait to see exactly what you're talking about, whether it be just a feeling or like as you said, maybe a derivative moment where it's like, oh no, that's the song they use here. But I thought that even I'm piggybacking on your moment, Haley, so I apologize. But the two things I loved about the music were like obviously helping underline one of the strongest aspects of the game, which is the atmosphere, and music's always helpful there, but so often, whether it be like, you know, a day walking through the town or a slow moment when you're upstairs, the absence of a soundtrack could be powerful. But I also really liked how I thought it was great, even in its like sort of moments of emphasis, like the stings, in like the change of a moment or a big dramatic thing. I thought worked really well too. So overall, the soundtrack, like Haley, I'm excited for this to take a page out of your book and for this to be a part of my rotation as well. Do you have the vinyl for this? I bet that's a fun thing to throw on if you have it.
It's
you do?
somewhere back there.
Yeah.
Is that a Dead by
cool.
Daylight vinyl?
It is. I found it
my God.
in a local store because Behavior's Canadian, which I always forget.
I forgot about this too.
And like they've apparently just like sold a bunch in Canada specifically. So I went to a record store and they had like 20 of those. I was like, why do you have so much Dead by Daylight stuff? They're like, oh, they're like not selling, so we just have.
Well,
like,
it's like I can only think of chase music, so I'm like, yeah, I'm being chased by a killer. Put that
never
on.
Run it. I just, I love Dead by Daylight.
It looks good on display,
I mean,
too.
it's fun. It's just.
It probably is just chase music and like the menu music or something. It's true.
I mean, hey, it would get you hyped to work, I guess, maybe, right?
Oh my God, dude, get your fear adrenaline going. Yeah.
I'm sorry to sort of take us on a tangent there, Haley, but did you get to say what you wanted about the music or anything else you felt like adding about the game in general?
Just it's such a good game to come back to. I have taken a break because I should have maybe done it every second year and then maybe I would have lasted longer. But even still, to feel I need to play this every year for like 6 years is such a crazy feat for me. I don't have any other game that really made me want to do that and make it such a routine in my year that I carve out time to feel the same feelings I felt playing this again. And now I'm reaching that weird phase where now I'm nostalgic for the feelings I felt.
Oh, wow.
At that time, even though they were bad feelings. Does that happen to you guys? Like I remember I lived in Minnesota for 6 months when I worked as an intern at Game Informer. And when I was there, I was having fun and I was like doing something I really wanted to do, but I was so lonely because like, you get your couple evenings a week, like maybe somebody invites you out for a drink from work or something, and that's your social time. But then I would come home. All my roommates were like University of Minnesota students who were back home. So I had a 4-person apartment completely dead to myself. And I was just so lonely. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm so sad. I just want to go home. But then as soon as a few years came past from that, my brain like warps the memory. I was like, what a queen I was in Minneapolis living my life. I loved it. And then my brain goes, no, you were sad.
Yeah.
Do you remember you were sad? And I'm like, no, it was great. It's like, it's crazy how nostalgia for just being younger. Like I want to be 23 again is what I really want. And it'll like warp how you thought about those feelings. But kind of that, I think that's kind of why I time capsule media a little bit, like even with the candle and stuff like that. So I can force my brain to be like, no, you were really sad when you did this. I'm like, oh yeah, like 22 was hard, even though I was young and felt. And now that I'm 32, I wish I was 22, but I really don't.
Yeah.
It's fun to remind yourself what you actually felt when you were 22 and not just rely solely on your foggy memories kind of thing.
Yes.
I like doing that for some reason. It's like tricking my psyche into being depressed again a decade later, I guess. But
Well,
it's really
since you're
humanizing.
on the other side of it now, I guess. 'Cause it's like 10 years later. So you can look back to be like, yeah, I survived that. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you could also be like, man, if I went back knowing what I know now, I'd be the coolest like 23-year-old ever. I'd be able to do it right again.
Exactly.
I think about that, like where it's like, if I could go back and change one thing, I think that probably once a week.
Mm.
And then every single time I do it, I'm like, no, but if you do that, then this doesn't happen and this doesn't
Yeah.
happen. And I was like, so I have to go through this hard time. Like my injury is I tore my ACL last year.
Oh.
And that's probably like the biggest current regret of my life. It's like if I had just not gone to that class and da 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 da. I was like, yeah, but if you didn't tear your ACL, unfortunately, all this other stuff wouldn't have happened that you kind of needed to happen. And I was like, oh, that sucks. So it's really nice to go back to those times with like the eyes that understand that I had to go through it to get to this point. Because if I
Yeah.
did go through it, I could imagine like, oh, my life would be better, but that's not actually a guarantee.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah,
then
and it's a way to make that pain matter, I think, as well,
exactly, exactly.
which is important.
Yeah.
But
Otherwise, it's just pain, and then you feel double shitty because you had
yeah,
Yeah.
pain that didn't matter.
Yeah, you want to learn from stuff like that.
Yeah. Pain
exactly.
without perspective is poor. That's the alliteration I'll come out of it with today. Uh, Roxy, is there an aspect, moment, character, anything in this game that you want to bring up on sort of our last throwing spaghetti at the wall moments?
I guess one of the things we didn't super touch on was like May's dreams and like the
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
supernatural aspect. Is it real? Is it not? I think like I remembered reading in the original draft of the game, it was supposed to be more explicitly like, yes, this is 110% supernatural things are happening. And then the final draft we got, it was like, maybe it is. It's ambiguous. You think
Mm.
about it. What
Mm.
do you think about it? Which normally like drives me insane and still kind of does. But then you have the
Mhm.
cults. So at least like there's other people believing this stuff, even if it's not
Hmm.
real. So it's like her thinking that it feels more justified. But there's like a conversation with the giant cat where it
Oh,
talks about
yeah.
like monstrous existence. It has this quote and it just talks so strangely to you because May asks like, "Are you God?" And it's like people have described to me what that word means, and I'm not that, and that thing doesn't exist. I don't understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's just like, is this May having a conversation with herself, or is this some sort of outer God being? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot that is all, especially a lot of the things that end up feeling sort of ethereal that are that maybe they're explicitly answered, but on my first playthrough, I finished the game and I'm like, oh, there's still things that I don't know if there are answers to. For example, the final one, the conflict near the end of the game when you leave your group of friends, you leave the cult, you take the elevator or the lift, whatever, up through the mine, and then one of the ghost cult members has like a last ditch effort to like pull May down.
Oh yeah. I
Mm.
remember that.
I was still like, how does that work? That's supernatural stuff right
Yeah.
there. Whatever's
Mhm.
going on. I thought it was like demystified for me, but anyway, so I think, yeah, I similarly Roxy too. I don't. I feel about it differently depending on the story, the medium, the what have you. And this one,
Yeah.
I wanted to know definitively, but it didn't bother me too much.
Yeah. I think it can be both. And it's kind of like Inception, where it's like you could believe it's still spinning, you
Oh,
can
sure,
believe
yeah.
it wavers. Like it's like
I guess
Yeah,
it.
do
the
whatever you
classic.
It
want at
kind
the
of keeps it
end.
still living in your brain that way, which like
Yeah,
Exactly.
I want an answer, so I'm like frustrated by it, but also I'm like, well, I'll give this a pass. There's like
Yeah.
certain things where
yeah,
I'll do that. Like this, also Alan Wake is similar to that too, where it's like I want to
Yeah.
figure out the things, but it's like, no, you're on a roller coaster
I
ride. You're
have to
not
try
solving a
again.
mystery.
yes.
I was so terrified. I played for 15 minutes and I was so terrified that I was like, I don't,
I mean,
I'll have to come back.
it's
Which one?
scary.
Of Alan Wake, I was just like, I
The
can't come.
first one or the second
The
one?
first one.
Okay, the
Um,
first one, I think especially with time as well. I mean, even if you're playing the
It's got a bit of
remasters,
jank to it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it has like
okay.
a 360 jank to it that might not feel as spooky, especially like with the narration. Like Alan's so into himself, he's so like, yeah, Stephen King's the god, and I'm so cool too. I'm gonna do all this cool narration.
Have I even,
Where it's
oh,
like he's
okay.
kind of a dope.
It's just the
Um,
weird ghosting stuff where you have to like jump down. And I was like, this is too much. I'm,
oh,
I'm,
how you have
I'm
to like
horrored out for the week.
that's
Hmm.
also fair if you're like
Yeah.
not a horror game junkie
Yeah.
like me. The second game is a lot more like, yeah, we played Resident Evil Remake, so
Yeah.
enjoy what we learned from that.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
100%.
But the
Mhm.
first game is a lot more like this is arcadey 360 action game. You pick up a
Hmm.
gun in one chapter, then it's gone the next one. Better go find a new one.
Oh,
So it's like you don't get to manage an inventory the same way because they're just gonna throw shit at you, so it doesn't feel as like threatening.
Hmm.
okay.
Whereas in the
Definitely.
second one, they're like, well, if you know how to game the inventory system in the second one, that's also like not really an issue as well.
Hmm.
I had too many items for the amount of space I had in it because I learned how to game it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'd suggest giving it a second shot.
I
But yeah,
will. It's still on my PlayStation, so
and that
Okay.
that was all kind of tying to just like the not having answers for everything in this
Yes,
Yes,
in this
yeah,
game.
sorry.
Back
exactly.
to
I'm
the, I
just
mean,
talking
like
about Alan Wake.
Yeah,
it's all right, but back to the Twin Peaks of it all that Haley brought up too.
yeah.
Adrian, is
Mhm.
there something we haven't brought up that you want to highlight?
I mean, yeah, the dreams, the music in the dreams was like always really captivating. It's some of my favorite music in the game. Um, Greg and just like we didn't really talk about Greg. We talked a little bit more about Bee and her life and
And haven't said
um
Angus's name. Well, actually, I think
we
someone
did
said it in
see
the
Angus,
At
opening,
the
but
yeah.
beginning.
But
Yeah.
like their relationship, there was something I was like looking up something as I was playing the game, and they said something about like the homophobia that Greg experiences when he goes into the donkey store
Mm.
with or food donkey with May from Steve. And I was like, yeah, yeah. Like I was like, I can see why Greg wants to leave this small town, where it's like they don't I think I haven't really played a lot with Greg, like in this pass or the previous pass, but I do get the impression that um the acting out of Greg is based on this kind of like uh, repression that he's experiencing, that he can't fully be himself with his partner in this town. And I haven't played to the end, and I don't remember. I haven't played a lot with Greg. I can't remember if him and Angus break up. I feel like that's
I don't
something
think they do. No,
They
they're
don't
don't
ever
ever.
they're
do,
very
no.
solid.
Yeah, but
I
it was
couldn't
just
handle it.
Yeah, no. If anything, it's like
yeah,
May brings out kind of the more delinquent side of Greg that he
yeah,
kind of like moved past to be like, yeah, I'm dedicated to getting out of this town, so I'm going to work a job. I have to do
yeah,
certain things, but I'm still kind of a little goblin. And
yeah.
now my
Yeah.
friend who like enables me to do that is here.
Well, I think
So it's
it's
more like
funny.
them clashing a bit in that way.
He also enables her to
Oh
because like
yeah.
it's kind of like if you go with B, you're gonna have these like really emotional stories where you're talking about just like the hardships of growing up. If you go with Greg, you'll have a little bit of that, but it's as you're stealing something. It's as you're breaking light bulbs. It's like,
Hmm.
and that's not something that necessarily May is coming up with. It's Greg being like, "Hey, you're here. Let's do this. Let's break into the store.
Hmm.
Let's like break
Yeah.
these light bulbs." And so it's just kind of interesting to see like how anxiety about staying in your hometown plays out in people. Like
Yeah.
May went out into the world and saw that it was too much and overwhelming, and she wanted to come home. And Greg and B have never left home, and all they can think about is like what their life would be like if they could just get out.
Hmm.
And I just
Yeah.
think it's really interesting how those two characters show the differences in like what can happen when you stay home
Yeah.
versus like when you leave with May. And then there was I can't remember, but there's something. Because I was like, what? The moment that like really kind of like broke me emotionally the first time I
Yeah,
played
you're
it
trying to recall that, right?
was I feel like you're in a mall or something and there's like shards breaking like on the ground. You really have to jump.
Oh, the fountain,
The
maybe.
fountain.
Yeah, where
And
May's using the fountain to splash people to like kind of make Bee giggle because she's like
Is that
feeling
the same moment you're
like she
thinking
I
can't
of?
don't
control her
know.
life. And so May's like,
Maybe.
yeah, I'm the god of the fountain.
But
And I'm
there's something that's said in that moment. And I was so moved by it, but I cannot remember for the life of me because it's been like nearly a decade. But if anyone can remember, if they're listening to this and they go, oh my God, yeah, when May talks about this, while she's splashing people or breaking glass or whatever, um, if you can find that moment, just know it brought me to tears. I couldn't get the game completed in time to get to it before the podcast, but um, yeah, I would say like the music, Greg, there's so many great aspects to this game, and like for a very much a quote unquote violent gamer, I'm very much about like just going full Assassin's Creed on people most of the time when I
I
game.
don't know.
It was nice to have like a break from that and just reflect on life. It's very much close to like Spiritfarer in terms of like you just get to reflect and hear people talk
Mm,
about what their life experience has been.
It
Yeah.
can allow you to be sort of contemplative. And a game it reminded me of one Roxy we've talked about before was
ooh.
Firewatch.
Mm.
And
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of, I mean, it's in some ways wildly different, but in other ways so similar as far as the narrative and the mystery of what's really going on and this
Yeah.
character going through something and changing. So, um, yeah, the last little thing I wanted to say a moment we were talking about the activities you can do. I find them mostly cute, some of them less engaging than others, but I did have to brag and say the first time that I went to band practice and did that mini game, the Guitar Hero thing, which I didn't
Mhm.
know was coming. I didn't miss a note, and I felt like
What?
so
Look
cool.
at
And the
you.
way they respond to you too is like, you've been playing the bass? Like, where did this come from? Because
Yeah.
it's great because regardless of how you do, the game responds in a way that affirms the thing that happened there. Like, oh, may because I also tried a song later that
Can do.
after a few I really stunk at, and
Uh,
he goes, "Well, I didn't know the song, so who cares?" And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, of course not. But um, yeah, plenty
Is
of
that the
activity.
adrenaline that just like kept you going to
Oh man,
like
I was
hit
just
every
like
mark?
in such a groove too, which I was like, I wish I had an actual guitar peripheral for this.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've
There's
never gotten the wow, you can still play. It's always been like, well, I didn't know the song.
yeah.
That was
Uh
one of the trophies I remember too, that
oh,
you'd have
Ooh.
to get. I think you have to get more than like 80% on each song or something like
okay.
that. Like
Oh
in
Ooh.
it's like bass proficient or something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe.
there's it's sorry to throw one more thing, but something I interacted with a lot at the beginning, but then totally left behind was the little dungeon crawling computer game that you
Oh
have.
Mm.
yeah.
Oh man,
Uh
I never interacted with that. I
Oh
would love to
really?
it's
hear what that's
interesting.
about.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
did
kind of
did you beat it, Haley or Adrian?
I
I
beat
feel
it one of my
Yeah.
oh
playthroughs,
How deep
and
does it go?
it's like you could probably spend over an hour, like a bit over
Okay.
an hour playing it. But it's yeah,
okay.
completely thorough, thought through little dungeon crawler thing they just stuck on there. I wonder if it was one of the Kickstarter goals. That seems
That
like
would
I
Oh,
make
remember that.
sense.
Yeah, like we'll put in this little dungeon crawler on May's computer kind of
hmm.
thing. And one of the
Yeah.
trophies was getting to the top level of the castle in the dungeon crawler thing.
I'm
I don't
still
think
on
you get
level
that much
two.
from it. May just is
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah. And then you could like keep going on with whatever you're doing.
But you can
Um,
also talk to Angus about it, I think, because
yeah,
he
Angus is
does
into
check
Oh yeah,
it.
he
in.
gives you the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's how. Okay.
Because you downloaded too much porn on your computer and your
Yeah,
computer's broken and he fixes it for you. Yeah.
that's
I love that
right.
it is a character that is essentially a woman who's downloaded too much porn on her computer.
Yeah.
We don't get enough credit for our love of porn. And so I'm happy that you killed her computer with porn.
Mace just killed her computer for it. Yeah.
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 Let it
And
be
also,
known.
I can't remember. Did she grow up knowing Angus, or is Angus newer to town and like dating Greg?
Think newer?
Okay,
I
so it's
don't
like
really
also you're going
know.
to this friend who maybe you don't know as well too to be like,
Hmm.
hey, can you like help me with
Yeah, because
this?
that's kind of
It's
the
definitely,
conversation she doesn't want to admit, and then
yeah.
Greg is like, "Oh, Angus won't care."
Okay, yeah, he's totally cool about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a really interesting, like, the thing they talked about with like, their queer relationship too was that I feel like I've never seen in other media this be a conflict, which is such an interesting conflict, which is Greg says it at one point. I think it's when you're down by the lake and he's like, I want to say something, but I'm scared to say it. And she's like, what is it? Blah, blah, blah. He's like, I think I'm just with Angus because he's the only other gay person I know. And I'm like, that's a terrifying thought.
Whoa.
Like if they leave the town and meet other queer people, will he be like, oh yeah, no, Angus and I are a bad match. I should be with this person. I just happened to only meet him before, kind of thing. And I like,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be a great concept for
Yes.
like if media did that anywhere else? I think that's such an interesting conflict. She's like, I'm
Yeah.
scared to leave because I might realize that I shouldn't be with Angus. And she's like, that's
Wow.
crazy. You're in love with him. And he goes, yeah, I'm in love with him. But he's like, but I don't know what I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I could be,
Yeah.
I mean,
like,
that's a real thing. Yeah, especially
yeah,
you think about like before in the times before when people were like very much closeted. It's
yeah,
like there might have been other gay people in the town, but he wouldn't know that, you know? And
yeah.
so he's not going to get that option unless he
Mm.
leaves, and that could be scary as well. Yeah, sorry, my cat just came in and jumped into my lap.
He's so
So
Which
cute,
cat is
enjoying
this?
it.
this is Xander.
Xander. Well, appropriate to have a cat make an appearance.
Yes.
Let's what I'll do now is I'll turn to our each of our closing thoughts. So I'll send us all around. It doesn't have to be anything profound, but just kind of put on a bow on, what you think about this game, whatever place it may be held for you if you'd like. Roxy, I'll start with you if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just putting a bow on, as I've just said, your thoughts and feelings on this title. What do you want to say on your way out?
Yeah, I think I didn't really reflect too much on thinking about this, like where I was when I first played this
Sure.
game versus like where I am now that we're talking about it, which it's kind of just giving me an interesting thing to think about my life in general and like around that time. Because I feel like so much I'm just focused on like trying to do whatever the thing is I need to do next.
Yeah.
So I appreciate how this game kind of like, and you inviting me to this gave me a chance to sort of do that. And just explore a lot of the concepts that this game dealt with. And it makes me want to like either replay it again myself or like more recently, or just like watch a let's play and get somebody
Sure.
else's take on it
Mm.
as well. Again, to just kind of like chill out with it. It's January. There aren't as many new games coming out. Why not? I got time to
Mm.
do it.
It's
Yeah.
one time a year.
Ah,
Yeah.
gosh. And
January can be
then
my time for it.
calm
Mhm.
before the storm. Uh, well,
Gotta get one of those
Roxy,
candles though.
yeah, truly, we all need a Bed Bath and Beyond, or Bath and Body Works.
Yeah,
Oh, Bed
Bath
Bath
and
and
Body
Beyond
Works.
is the big store. Bath and Body Works is the candle store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I, I
They gotta
thought I
sponsor you at this
misforgot
point
it.
also.
Anyway, we
Yeah,
all
I
need
know, right?
leaves.
Yes.
I've been told that it's Chugi now, though, which I'm bummed
Uh,
about. I
Oh,
didn't get the
whatever.
message.
Yeah, do
Bath
whatever
and
you
Body Works
want.
is Chugi.
Whatever. These
Anybody who
Damn
says
it.
that,
standards.
they lack whimsy. Do
It's
what you
too much
want.
work. They
Cool.
do lack whimsy. You know what I
Yeah.
wrote on my calendar for the year? I wrote whimsy and I put like three bold lines underneath it. And I was like, that is the theme of 2026 for me.
I love
So no
that.
Yes.
matter the politics of the world, I was like, I'm going to bring whimsy back into my
yeah.
life.
Yes.
So
I
whatever
love
those
that so
children.
much.
Well, speaking
Like,
of whimsy, Adrian, will you wrap up your thoughts on this game for us?
you know, it's great getting old. I say that because when I played this game, it was like a really hard time in my life. And so I very much like linked up with with May and what she was going through and the pressures of becoming an adult. Even in my early to mid 30s, that pressure of becoming an adult is never ending. I will be, oh my God, 40 this
Mhm.
year. And
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah.
And it's a never-ending thing. It's just really about how you approach it and how you handle it. Each round that it happens. Uh, it it's great to look back at this game and be grateful for what it offered me at the time when I was struggling. I like to see myself in a game and be like, I identify with this character and what she's going through, and it gives me some solace to like play through this game and like watch her go through her own journey. And it's great to be an old lady now and be like, oh, look at that little kid. It's so hard. It'll be okay, kid. Like, because I can say that to myself as well. I look back at 32-year-old me and I go, you did it, kid. You made it. It was okay. So yeah.
Awesome. Haley, we've talked about this game a bunch. This is
I
our
know this is
second
like
time for
hour
me
four or
hearing.
something.
I know, but and it might be a difficult task, but yeah, how would you put into words whatever place this game holds for you, leaving it once again?
Yeah, I think it's just a time capsule game for me. It's I think I want to play this every so often my whole life just because it reminds me of such a specific time in my life. The fact that it resonated so hard when it did come out and when I first played it, that it scared me, I think is fun. When media does that, I'm like, oh, like you know, you can feel it become part of your personality, that kind of
Yes.
fervor that you only get when you're in your teens, sort of thing. But when you get it for something later in life, you're like, no, I like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna think about tattoo designs for this thing, like sort of thing. I don't even have any tattoos, but that's like how much I like this thing. Just as such a well written, no voice acting, but still, that's how strong the dialogue is. Like you don't need a voice, you just need the writing here. And yeah, like kind of what we talked about, the rewarding the player for getting more involved with the community and the world that the game's set up in, the simplicity of the gameplay, so you could recommend it to anyone. Like I could recommend this to, my friend who's never played a game because I know all they'll have to do is just use the dialogue stick and
Hmm.
go left and press X to jump, and that's all they need to do. And they'll get as much out of it as me, somebody who's played thousands of hours of other games, So it's nice that it's approachable like that as well. And it's just going to be one that, yeah, just is part of my personality core a little bit. There's certain
Yeah.
pieces of media that have just kind of stuck to my DNA a little bit, and this is one of them. Um,
Yeah, I
what
call
that
games
says
like
about
this, I say
me.
that they rewrote my brain chemistry. So I feel like this is one of those
Yeah.
games for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it lets you kind of see yourself in the media and then make like internalize those thoughts that you don't otherwise do because you're doing it through a conduit of like a
Mhm.
piece of media. And then by
Yeah.
the end of it, when you process that, you're like, oh yeah, also the media is me, and I just had that also applies to how I view myself. You're like, interesting, okay. It's nice to have media
Wow.
like that that does that.
Yeah, those are they like remain even if you change, they sort of remain resonant because it's hard
Mhm.
to forget what they brought to you at that time or why it resonated. Yeah, for me, having my first ever experience with this game, I was really struck at how, a lot of the themes as we've discussed kind of ad nauseum today ring so true, even, 9 years after this game was first released. And while I never fully related to the exact spot that May was in, there are things about her personality and the interactions she has with people she loves, especially that I definitely can relate with at different times in my life from moments where I've either been, you know, brave or scared or not proud of the things that I've said to people that I really care about and how I've responded to them. So that was great. And I think for me, as I was writing down some notes earlier, a couple of the things that struck me most were how not everything, we were talking about this with the whole Twin Peaks of it all, how not everything has an answer in this game. And I think that's okay because that's kind of how life can be. Like we never get to the bottom of what's up with the the cult ghost member who can
Mhm.
just like go through
Mhm.
walls or lifts. We never find out exactly what's going on with these sort of visions and dreams that she's having, even though we get like some explanation for what they could mean.
Mhm.
Um,
hmm
and overall, I think like the sort of messiness of May's life and her day to day like movement throughout town, her relationships with people, that the authenticity of that was like the thing that struck me the most and that I just really, really appreciated and loved and is going to give me a reason to also want to revisit this on a future fall. Maybe it'll be like 2028 or something, and I won't save
Hmm.
it for a January this time, but I think this game is totally worth playing for anyone who is in that season of their life or millennials, especially because the specifics feel feel so aimed at us.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But that will conclude our conversation about Night in the Woods and yet another co-op episode. As we close things out, I would love to get some plugs from everyone here. I know we did that at the top, but if you want people to find you somewhere or to promote something, let's do that. Once again, Haley, thanks so much for coming back. I love talking games with you. This is a blast to have an excuse
Yay.
to, once again talk Night in the Woods. What do you want to plug on your way out?
My social media is Haleyfax because I'm from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I don't
That's
just love
cute. I love
fax
that.
Is
machines.
there a better username out there? I don't know.
That was my Tumblr username, and I've never changed. I've used it for everything since. I will never go back. That was my Adventure Time Tumblr I started in 2010. I named it Haleyfax, and I haven't gone back. And then if you're a game developer and you need a lawyer, my law firm's called Voyer Law, and you can just Voyer. You can just Google that. My email somewhere on the website. You can email me. Yeah.
Amazing. Roxy, I mean, I know I just said Haley might have the best username out there, but you got a pretty good one too.
Oh, yeah, I'm Red Mage Roxy on Twitch because there was a period of my life where I played Final Fantasy 14 for 2 years straight, and that's just going through the main story. I didn't really interact with any of the co-op stuff that much, or the MMO elements of it. But yeah, come follow me on Twitch. I'm playing the Games Club game, which is Fire Emblem Awakening, as well as all kinds of other stuff. Resident Evil 9 really snuck up
Oof,
on me. That's next month.
Oh,
I
wow.
had to be reminded that was
crazy.
next month. Me. That's crazy. So I'll be playing that on launch as well.
Feels like a random month for a Resident Evil game to come out for some
I
reason.
know, right?
February? I don't know.
Like what?
Yeah, what's
Feels
that
weird.
about?
Hmm.
Fantastic. And then Adrian, great, getting to chat a couple
Mhm.
times recently about video games. Thanks
Yeah,
so much for doing this.
of
Yeah,
course.
what do you want to plug?
You can follow me on well, I'm no longer on X. I did it.
Wow,
Nice.
congratulations.
Thank you. I have no point in being
You
there.
on Blue Sky?
Yeah.
You can follow me on Blue Sky, Instagram,
Hmm.
TikTok, Threads, pretty much everywhere. If at Miss Adrian Snow, that's my handle everywhere you go. Um, I am doing mod. I'm on the team, the faculty, and so we're the second Wednesday of every month. I will be there for the February and March shows. I will maybe be there for April, but I'm taking myself on a little trip for my 40th. So if you come in
Nice.
May, I won't be there.
Mm.
And then you can catch me on on pretty much any television at
Watch
any
some TV
time.
and look at the commercials.
Yes, I've ruined men's
I like your
lives.
banner on Blue Sky, Adrian. Jeff Goldblum's
Oh yeah.
naked shirt.
That's my that's in my bedroom. My best friend gave me that and it hangs above
And
my
that's why
bed.
your cat's named that
And
as
that's
well,
my
I'm
cat's name,
guessing.
Jeff Goldblum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Um,
Amazing.
yeah, pretty much anywhere you watch television, I'm probably there. Apparently, I've ruined men's dates because they dated me and then they were on a date and they saw my face pop up, and it is a point of pride.
That's amazing.
So if you're watching the YouTube version of this, now keep an eye out. The audio may be harder to tell, but you never know.
You never know. I'm
Well,
there. Yeah.
for the network, well, once again, thank you three for joining. This was so much fun. I'm really glad that this group could get together. But for the network, Super NPC Radio, again, if you're listening to this on the Patreon, thank you so much for your support. Let us know what you thought about it in the Discord. You can also, if you're listening to this on the free feed or on YouTube for free a week after it comes out, thanks so much for listening. Let us know what you thought as well in the comments, or share the show with a friend, especially if they love Night in the Woods. You can follow Super NPC Radio on Blue Sky and Instagram as well if you want to see other stuff we've got going on. Call Me by Your Game, the podcast that, yeah, this is a co-op episode. You can follow us all over social media as well, Blue Sky and Instagram and YouTube specifically, especially for the video version, like I've already said. And then for me, you can follow me on Blue Sky at Connor McCabe. Pretty easy to find. But anything that any of us plugged is going to be in a link in the show notes. So if you want to find something specific, you don't have to search for it. It'll be right below wherever you're listening. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Call Me by Your Game co-op series. We will see you on the next one.
Oh, wait, also,
Oh,
no, April, May 1st through 2nd. Oh my gosh, so sorry.
that's a comedy festival.
Yeah, the Milk Comedy Festival.
Did you just say one more thing, MILF?
Yes. Los Angeles Improv Festival is happening May 1st and 2nd in Los Angeles. They were like, don't forget to plug it, and I totally forgot. Okay.
Well, that's the perfect way. I'm not going to say anything else. That's going to have to be the end of the show right there.